Welcome back to NYSE TV Live, everyone. I'm Kristen Schuler here in studio at the Stock Exchange. While New Yorkers rang in the new year with temperatures hitting 50 degrees during the day, many Americans will be reaching for their heavy coats from their closets this weekend and beyond. Here with more is ICE meteorologist Dave Margolin. Dave, it's great to see you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year, Kristen.
I can feel the cold here in New York already.
Yes.
What is on the horizon this weekend in terms of the weather?
No, well, you're right. It's, as we were just talking about, cold and snow. So we have a storm that's going to be moving across the Midwest into the east over the next, basically this weekend into early next week. It's going to produce a significant amount of snow across portions of the Midwest, especially like Missouri, Illinois, over to Indiana. And significant accumulations that are still likely probably all the way to the coast, thinking like Washington, D.C., Philadelphia. If you're wondering about New York, where we are, it looks like New York's going to be right at the edge, but it'll only take just a slight change in the models to see some of that accumulating snow make it to New York.
How long is this weather expected to last?
Yeah, so it's the storm system is the leading edge of the coldest air mass of the season. And it looks like, so that's going to come in next week. It's probably going to peak, we're thinking sometime in that 6 to 10 day period, like late next week into the weekend. And you're going to see really just cold anomalies spread across the eastern third of the country. In terms of how long it's going to last, that's sort of the million-dollar question, but it looks like at least into the 10, maybe 15-day period.
Interesting. So people are definitely going to be pulling for those jackets for quite some time. What impact could this have on the commodities market, Dave? I know that's something that Intercontinental Exchange, of course, the stock exchange's parent company, also follows closely.
Right. So the trajectory of the cold is really important. So we know from a demand perspective, certainly we're going to see a surge. It's the coldest air mass of the season. And when you think about U.S. Demand, you really think about that sort of Chicago, New York, Atlanta corridor. That's where, a lot of people live, and that's where this air mass is going to hit. So, since about mid-December, we've seen natural gas price surge almost $1. Now it's come down some since then based on some of the longer range projections. So that's one aspect. And then the supply is the other. And so last year around this time, we saw a cold air mass kind of run through the plains and northern Rockies, and it actually caused freeze-offs, which is where you have less gas coming out of the ground. This time, because the air mass is going to be a little bit further east, don't expect to see those freeze-offs, so we don't expect that impact, but certainly, again, in terms of demand, we're going to see a lot of that over the next couple weeks.
Interesting. So, Dave, how far out are you able to look at these forecasts? We've got 2 weeks of cold. Is there any hope on the horizon?
Well, we look out several months in some cases, but in terms of accuracy and performance, I would say most meteorologists kind of think that the edge of kind of having really reliable forecasts is around day 10. As you get toward day 15 and beyond, it becomes much more uncertain. And so, in terms of this forecast, there's pretty good certainty or confidence that we're going to see this, significant cold out to day 10. Into that, sort of 2 to 3 week period, the forecasts kind of open up a lot. But the overall theme that we're seeing right now is some moderation of the cold as we get into the longer range.
It was quite pretty, I must say. New York City finally had a white Christmas just last week, of course, for the first time, I think, in 20 years. Based on these weather patterns, how does this compare, how this winter is shaping up to history?
Well, and I'm a fan of snow, and we've certainly been in a snow drought for the last three years in the New York City area. Coming into the season, a lot of the seasonal forecasts suggested that we were going to have a little bit of a La Nina influence, meaning a little bit less snow and maybe a little bit warmer in the southeast. But thus far, in terms of what's panning out, I think there's a lot more variability that we're seeing. And when we think about, we talked about the upcoming storm, over the next few days. Looking at some of the guidance, it does look like we're going to probably have at least one or maybe two other opportunities for snow or wintry precip in the next couple of weeks, maybe even across the southeast. So overall, I would say a little more optimistic for the New York City area and the east in general than we've seen the last couple of years.
All right, Dave Margolin, our resident meteorologist from Intercontinental Exchange, joining me in studio. Dave, thank you as always.
Thank you, Krista.